Backstage with Mothership on Solid Rock Radio begins now. Hear the best in new music, artist interviews, stories from the road, and more. You are now backstage, and here's your host, Mothership.
Hey everybody, is there anyone who wants to know what the Pillar reunion shows were like from the band's perspective, or what else is up with Pillar? Well, this is the place to find out. I have Michael Kalel Wittig from Pillar, Grammy nominated, Dove Award winners, over 1 million records sold, all that when you were in your 20s, right?
Yes, ma'am. I've had an interesting life so far.
Quickly tell us how you got the nickname Kalel.
Because we had a few lineup changes early on before Fireproof came out. Me, Rob, and our original guitar player all had a house in Hays, Kansas. We were going to college. You know, we were doing the band on weekends and had our little college house. And I did all our booking and management duties back then. That was kind of my role in addition to playing bass. And I just thought it was not cool to call these venues and promoters, hey, you know, this is Michael, the bass player for Pillar. I didn't want to do that. So I put Kalel on all our albums and our press material. And then I would call it Michael Wittig. Now, if they asked if I was in the band, you know, I would say, yes, I am. But normally they didn't ask. So I was coming across as a manager or a booking agent. I was always a Superman fan growing up, and that was the nickname. And it just stuck all through Pillar. And even nowadays, there's some people that really only know me by that. So like on my Facebook, I put Michael Kalel Wittig, just so people, you know, put two and two together.
Okay, so Pillar, you're back.
Yeah, right now we're back after about a decade with the core members, myself, bass player, Rob Beckley, our singer, Lester Estelle on drums, and of course Noah Henson on guitar.
Can you give us a little history of the band?
Pillar started back in 1998 in Hays, Kansas. And we got a call at our little college house one day from Bob Herdman, who was in a band called Audio Adrenaline. And they came across our material and was interested in meeting with us. And we all drove up to Wichita, Kansas at the Coliseum. They were on a headlining tour, and, you know, we went and watched them play, and they wanted to meet with us backstage. And they ended up signing us to their new record label called Flicker Records at the time, that was based out of Nashville. And we started off working directly with Mark Stewart and Will McGinnis and the Audio Adrenaline guys, and recorded our first album called Above, produced by our longtime friend Travis Wyrick. And the rest is just history. God opened up the doors, and we got to tour the world and do a bunch of fun stuff with a bunch of great people.
Can we get a little background to your personal story? Because I've heard a little bit about the instability that you had at starting out and how you overcame that.
Yeah. You know, it was pretty unstable, you know, but God put all the pieces together for it to be very stable.
Yeah.
You know, I was raised basically by my grandparents, whom I call mom and dad. My real mother, I had to have trace memories of being with her when I was a real little guy, and she got into drugs and drinking in the wrong crowd, you know, so I remember a few, you know, pretty sketchy things, but I was left with my grandparents at one point. They adopted me, and I just was raised by them. And my grandmother, Yvonne, was a Jesus follower and took us to church and just raised our family Christian. And she was always just so supportive. And I was really close with my mom. And a lot of the reason why I've been able to do the things I do in life, including music and a whole bunch of other stuff I've done since then, is just because she just gave me that support to go after things that were important to me.
What was the key to you being so driven to succeed?
When I was little, living with them, it was my birthday, and I got hit by a car.
What?
Really bad. Yeah, I was riding my bike. It was my birthday. We were going to go to Chuck E. Cheese. I was riding the bike around the block and was headed home, crossing the street, got hit by a car going way too fast. I went through the windshield, and they hit the brakes, and I flew back out the windshield. And I don't remember after that, only what I've been told. But I was in a coma for a while, should have died, had to wear this big body brace to hold everything together for a while. And my mom told me that when I woke up, and I don't remember this because I was knocked out, but I guess I'd woke up and I said something to the effect that Jesus saved me. And she told me that, you know, afterwards, and I've never forgotten that. And more than anything, I think that always stuck with me. And I felt like, you know, God has me here to do things. And because of that, it's kept me from ever fearing to go after big things. Working hard in a band, even though there's a million bands out there, I knew we were going to make it. I felt God had a purpose for me and for our band. So I worked tirelessly. We all did. We all had our role. Everyone worked hard, but I worked hard on the management side because I really felt God was going to do things. And then once Pillar slowed down, we never quit. We just got busy with kids and life and other things. I didn't stop there. You know, I got into fitness industry, which is another passion of mine, writing, acting, just a bunch of things I enjoy, but I don't have fear trying those new careers just because I've always felt that, God kept me here for a reason.
Has bodybuilding and weightlifting always been part of your lifestyle?
Yeah, I found music and fitness around the same time. Not
Okay.
the exact same time, but pretty close. In early high school, 15, 16 years old. I found music by watching this epic movie that came out when I was in high school called Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. And I wanted to play guitar. I wanted to be like Keanu Reeves' character, Ted. I wanted to grow my hair long, play guitar. Ended up learning guitar. My youth pastor at church taught me, and eventually switched over to bass. And music's been a big part of my life since then. And around the same time, I grew up just super skinny, like 6 foot. I'm 6'2" now, but I was over 6 foot, weighed like 135 pounds. So I was a rail, just really uncomfortable and really unconfident. I didn't even want to take my shirt off in the locker room or go swimming with friends because I was so self-conscious of how skinny I was. So my dad bought me a weight set, gave me a book from Arnold Schwarzenegger that I still have, his encyclopedia, and just started lifting weights. And I
Wow.
enjoyed it. I liked it. And I got good at it. I read books and studied and have done that off and on my whole life. There's times where I had to stop because of life or whatever, pillars started taking off, but then I'd always come back to it. And when we toured during our really heavy touring years, we carried a weight set under the bus. And me and Lester, Noah, and Rob, we'd all work out. Didn't matter where we were, if it was Cornerstone backstage or a Walmart parking lot, we'd pull out our little gym and get a workout in, and we were kind of known for that there for a while because, we were all kind of getting buff and, had a lot of fun. So yeah. So when we stopped touring, it was just natural for me to jump into a full-time fitness career. It's been about a decade that I've been doing fitness now.
Wow.
Whole nother chapter, whole nother vocation. I started off just doing personal training, but I knew early on that I wanted to do a lot more than that, than just working with one person at a time or whatever. So I started writing fitness books, started getting sponsors, started writing articles for magazines, and I started competing. I just started that in 2016. I wanted to see what it was like to do a fitness competition. Really liked it. Found that there's natural organizations, so you can do it health first and not have to take steroids and dangerous chemicals. I got my pro card in 2017, my natural pro card, and I've been competing ever since. And now, as of last year, I'm a 29-time natural pro champion in multiple divisions. Just love doing it.
I was going to ask you how many titles you held. Wow, fantastic.
29 titles, and now I'm off for a few years, and I'm actually promoting my own natural fitness competition in Tulsa.
I heard you were disciplined and organized.
That's kind of just how I've always been. I'm not really great at anything. I'm just really great at being consistent, and that helps me do great things.
What are some of the principles that you live by?
I've talked about this before, and it's principles that's not just that's helped me with music or my fitness career or anything, acting, any of that. It just pretty much works with everything in life. It'll help you be more successful if you do some of these things. Number one is just be kind and easy to work with. I'm not saying be a pushover, but be friendly and kind. Number two is do more than is asked of you. So if you're given a job, don't just give them the minimum, give them double, and then help others succeed. Don't always make it about you and your career and what do you need to do and using people. There's room for all of us to be successful. Those are pretty much the core, and they've helped me be successful in about 5 different areas of life.
Would you briefly share a little bit of your cancer journey?
Yeah, so I was raised in Southern California, so just being out in the sun was just something I grew up doing all the time, never thought about it. And, in 2016, I started the fitness competitions. Well, to do those competitions, you have to be really dark, tanned, and it's not for vanity. It's because when you're on the stage, the lights are really bright. So you have to be dark so the definition shows. I just did like I did growing up. I just throw the beach towel in the backyard and tan out there and use the tanning beds at the gym and get as dark as I could. I had a little mole on my left chest. Didn't think much about it. I noticed that mole was getting bigger. So I went to my doctor and she said, well, I'm not really worried about this. It basically didn't have the major signs of skin cancer. I said, oh, you're probably fine. It got even bigger. And so I went back again a second time and she said again it was fine at this point. So I just went to a different doctor and I didn't ask his opinion. I said, hey, can you please take this off? Well, I got a panicked call very soon after. This came back as invasive melanoma, which it's the worst kind of skin cancer, and people die with that. And this was in 2020, into February maybe. The surgeries went well. They come back and said I had clear margins, which means there's no trace of the cancer. So that's good. It didn't go deep, thankfully, even though it was on there for years. It was just surface level. So I dodged a bullet. I was okay, had the 2 surgeries, did my modified training, went to compete, and I ended up winning 3 titles that year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Modeling, commercials, and acting. Tell us about that part of your life.
Yeah, I have a website now. I had to redo it because it's not all fitness anymore. It's wittigworks.com. And my banner there kind of shows about what my life's like now. It has a little bit of me playing guitar, me doing modeling, me doing fitness, me writing. I do about 5 different things that I enjoy. And the modeling and the acting stemmed from my fitness work. So I was training people, writing books, and I started to get sponsors. And with those sponsors involved some photo shoots, and they went really well. And I started getting hired to do fitness modeling for either products or things that I was already sponsored with. But sometimes apparel companies would hit me up or gym equipment companies. And I started doing that successfully. And then one of my trainers that was under me came in late. I was like, hey, man, why are you running late? And he was involved with a commercial shoot. And I was like, cool, tell me more about that. And he told me about his agent. And I always was interested in that. So he connected me with his agent, who actually used to be in the music business and knew of Pillar. So I had already met her at some point. I didn't remember it at the time, but I had met her. So she signed me to her agency really without any kind of acting experience, just modeling experience. But she started getting me booked for acting jobs like right away. And that was about 4 years ago. So I've regularly work on a movie or a TV series, or more so commercial work, which is, kind of helps our family a little bit more. And it's easy. You don't really have to do much. You just smile and look normal. And so I regularly do that and regularly do modeling work and just kind of whenever it pops up.
What's your favorite acting experience so far? The best gig?
The best gig that was fun, easy, by far the biggest thing I've done that's helped my family. That was for an Oklahoma travel commercial. But I would say the most interesting thing I did was just really exciting was Killers of the Flower Moon, directed by Martin Scorsese, starring Robert De Niro, Leonardo DiCaprio. They filmed that here in Oklahoma, not too far from where I live. I didn't do anything major, just some background work, but that was quite the experience and just almost a master class in acting, because I worked 10 days on it. And most of the days very, very close to Robert De Niro, DiCaprio. I mean, like they're just right there, right in front of me. A couple of days were close set with just a handful of people and them doing great monologues. So I really learned a lot and pretty much saw the very top level of movie production. It was definitely an honor to be able to, work on that. That was a lot of fun.
So let's talk Pillar now. After a long hiatus, we got 3 shows this year from Pillar. What was the catalyst to get this going again?
Well, Pillar never really quit. We just got busy with kids and other opportunities and work and family. So we slowed down for a long time. Back in 2015, we played one show and released an album called One Love Revolution. We never toured on it. We just played one festival and released that album. But we weren't in a position to play any more shows at the time because of everybody's situation. Everybody in the band was doing something different pretty much full time. We all stay in touch. It's not like we weren't talking. We have a little text chain that we've had for years, and we keep in touch regularly and just holler at each other and, post jokes and stuff. So playing again is something we had talked about for a long time. It just wasn't the right timing.
Everybody busy with life.
Yeah. Lester plays for Kelly Clarkson. He's on her show every day, on her tours, and he does a lot of other session work for a lot of bands and artists. Noah Henson, he plays full-time with Brantley Gilbert. He's been doing that longer than he was in Pillar now. And they're out playing stadiums all the time. Rob's a pastor, and he's been doing that for a long time.
Right.
He just had responsibilities to his congregation and his family. And then I was still am doing the fitness thing full-time for a long time. So we were just busy. It just didn't work out. And then 2022, we started getting offers. One was for Loud and Proud in Germany. Wasn't the right timing. Ken from a live festival called us. And maybe it was early 23 to play a live festival, and the timing just wasn't right. We wanted to, we just couldn't. And then when he hit us up at the end of 2023 at Ken from Alive again, he called back, and we talked about it, and everybody was a thumbs up. It was just the right timing. We could do it. So we booked that, and we had other people call us through the years wanting to book us. So I just kind of went through those old emails, and we ended up playing a second show in Ohio at the BMI Center, who was wanting to book us for a couple years. And then to do those shows, though, we hadn't played in a decade. We had to rehearse. So we planned a several-day rehearsal in Tulsa, in our hometown. And then while we were all here rehearsing, we were like, let's just do a hometown show, So we put on the show ourselves. We just self-promoted it and sold tickets, and it was amazing. Noah did make it in for that show. We were worried that he wouldn't be able to make it in because he had a show in Florida the night before, which means he wasn't there for the rehearsals. He had to practice on his own because he was with Brantley Gilbert. And just in case he didn't make it, we had our friend JR come in for rehearsals, practice with us, and he was going to play with us regardless, but he was also there just in case Noah's flight got canceled, which happens. Day of the show on June 9th, Noah flew in, he made it. We rehearsed during sound check with him, and then we performed that night in Tulsa on June 9th to 1,500 people, and these people came from all over the world. Amsterdam, London, Canada. One guy drove his motorcycle from New Hampshire to Tulsa. It was an incredible night. We're still thinking about it. It was just, we're so cool to see all those fans again and our friends, and it couldn't have went better.
Did you expect that reaction, or were you kind of shocked at how many people turned out?
No, we really didn't know what to expect. Part of me was like, people probably don't remember who we are anymore. It's been so long. Of course, we all still get messages and emails and get noticed for being a pillar, but not often. We've all been doing other things for so long. So I was surprised. I knew some people were going to come out, but I didn't think that degree where people were literally coming from all over the United States and beyond. And then it was the same for the last couple shows. So then in July, we played 2 shows in Ohio, including a live festival. And both of them were phenomenal. And again, people were coming from all over the world to see those shows. Some individuals went to all 3 shows, Tulsa and both Ohio shows, because they just wanted to see us every chance they could. It was really neat meeting fans that were kids back in the day. They were just kids, and now they're bringing their kids to see us.
That's awesome.
Or fans that came across our music in the last decade, but we weren't playing shows. So they've been wanting to see us for the last 10 years or so. Finally got an opportunity. It went phenomenal. We had such a great time. We got a lot of positive feedback, and now we're looking to keep things going.
That's what we wanted to hear. Great news. What was it like to walk out on the stage again like that?
When we did that in Tulsa, I think we all just had big smiles on our faces. Noah and Lester both produced. They have their own studios. So Noah put together this really cool intro music that he made himself. And that music started, and, we're backstage with our families and our friends, and we heard the audience going crazy. And just doing that again, walking out to the intro music and crowds going crazy, and standing there with my, longtime best friends. It was just an awesome experience. Instead of looking like the tough rock band, we had big smiles on our faces the whole night.
Yeah.
It was really cool to look over to my left and see Noah over there, because I hadn't seen that in a long time. I could tell, he was having a lot of fun too. During rehearsals, we're rehearsing in Tulsa at Rob's church, and Noah's out on with Brantley Gilbert during those rehearsals, playing these massive shows. And it's funny getting texts from him because he wanted to be there with us, and I just thought that was cool.
It was exciting for everybody. It's just like a family reunion.
It sure was. And we're still getting feedback, just a flood of response since then. So really humbled and really thankful that all 4 of us have grown as men, as Christians, and to have that platform still.
Right.
I think we're in a position now to do greater things than we did back then. More experience, and God has done more in our lives over the last 10 years. So I think we're in a position now to use this platform to even greater good.
It's so cool being brought back around to your original mission, which is being a musicianary.
That was our mission, and we respected that and did our best, but we were also young kids with limited knowledge of the world and our faith still. We're still growing. We still all are, you continue to grow in your faith through all stages of life, but we're in our young 20s. We're a bunch of young kids. And looking back now, 20 years later, if we would know what we know now, we could have done so much more with that platform. So we're just thankful that it's still there, to have the opportunity to do whatever we're going to do over the next few years. And we're just thankful.
Yeah. Now you're seasoned.
We're old.
What one song were you most excited to play?
You know what? All of them. We hadn't played them all in such a long time. We know the fans want to hear Frontline and Fireproof and Bring Me Down. From the 2015 album, One Love Revolution, we hadn't played any of those songs live, ever. 3 of them for the very first time. We played We Ride, we played Paratrooper, and we played One Love Revolution. For me as a bass player, though, it's always fun to play Simply, Awake, songs that were kind of started with a unique bass line. So for me as an individual, it was cool to play Awake and Simply at that first show. Some bass lines that meant a lot to me that I showed Noah back in the day, and he was excited about and wrote to it, and they ended up turning out to be, pretty great songs.
Yeah. Did you have any memory that was unlocked?
The whole thing was a time warp because it was a large crowd cheering. They're having so much fun. And then after the show, your autograph line and meeting the people, taking pictures, and just so many familiar faces. It was like we just time warped,
Yeah.
back to the early 2000s. Yeah, it was like no time passed at all, really. Even with just how we played on stage, it's like we hadn't missed a beat. I look to my left and there's Rob and Noah on the other side, and how we moved around and went to each side. It's like we hadn't stopped. It was pretty incredible. I wasn't sure what to expect with how we would perform. I knew we'd play well because we had practiced for months on this, but the energy on stage was just like it was, like we had never
Wow.
missed a beat.
That's amazing. What's up with Rob's stage diving?
He has no fear. Not only did stage dive, he has this box we had back in the day, has a pillar logo on it, and it was something he could stand on, so he could see over the crowd, but he also liked to jump off it. Well, he pulled out that box out of storage, the one we had made years ago. And at all 3 shows, that man got on that box and jumped higher than you can imagine, like over our heads high. And he pulled it off at 47. I think he's 47. He's the same age as me. And that guy got some serious air. He made us look young because no one else is jumping that high. So he's very physically active. He stays in shape. All of our guys have done a good job staying in shape and being healthy. So we didn't have any injuries, and that's a good thing.
It was cool seeing JR Bar Ice of Spoken and Love and Death up there on the stage with you guys. Some people may or may not know is that he picked up a guitar to learn to play Pillar songs.
Because Miller and Noah Henson, he told us, and it was so awesome. And the funnier thing is, he came to see us live for the first time. He was so excited, and he was on Noah's side, and he's there. The intro music comes out, and guess what? It's the one show Noah wasn't at. Noah's wife was having a baby, I think, at that time, so he couldn't be there, and we had a fill-in. So the first Pillar show he goes to see Noah, Noah's not there. And the funny thing is, our last 2 Ohio shows, now Noah played Tulsa with us, but he couldn't make the Ohio shows because of Brantley Gilbert's touring schedule. So JR was on stage with us and filled in for Noah. So it was kind of funny because I told JR, now there's going to be some young kids coming to see Noah. They're the ones going to break their hearts. They're going to come out and say, who's this guy? But that didn't happen. We had really good feedback. Everyone was understanding. Yeah. And JR, his style and tone is so close to Noah's. So we've had other people fill in every now and then, not often. And they're all great players. But there's something about a player's tone with how they hit the notes and their fingers. It's just always sounded good, but different. Well, with JR, when we were rehearsing, if you close your eyes or just look sideways because he had the dreads and stuff too, it sounded exactly like Noah. I mean, his style and how he plays and the tones that he has is about as close to Noah as you're ever going to get. So he just fit perfectly because it sounded amazing when they were both playing together. And then even when Noah couldn't be there and JR was playing, it sounded like Pillar. So he did phenomenal. We can't say enough good things about just JR's playing, but also just him as a person, man. He's just so friendly and kind. We're hoping it works out where he can do some more with us in the future. We'll see. Something definitely I'm always going to check on.
Just makes me wonder how many more JRs are out there because of Pillar. You've already left a strong legacy, and you're going to be leaving more.
It's humbling to hear those kind of stories. We got to talk to a lot of fans during these last 3 shows this year, and just heard so many great testimonies and stories and how our music and our band affected their lives, and it really meant a lot to us. It was just really cool to hear those stories, and a lot of them were very emotional and very personal and life-changing for some of these people. So we're really thankful of what we were able to do back in the day and what we're able to do now at this point in our lives.
When Pillar is done, what would you say the legacy would be?
Now that we're back doing stuff, I don't know when there will ever be an end. And I guess it's hard to speak for everybody else in the band, but I mean, if it ended now, I think we'd be happy, just especially after hearing all these stories of how our music literally, in a lot of cases, saved some people's lives.
Yes.
I won't name names, but we heard stories just in the last couple weeks of people that were ready to commit suicide, like they're in the middle of it. And then one of our songs came on. These guys and gals came up to us just during these shows and told us these stories, and they're in tears and told us that I'm here because of you guys, so just the fact that our music made life or death changes in people's life. I mean, it's mind blowing to us, and and we know it's not us. We're imperfect men back in the day. We loved God and did everything we could, but we weren't perfect, and we were numbskulls and just kids. And the fact that God still used us despite us being imperfect. We weren't ministers. A bunch of kids out there playing rock music who did love Jesus, but despite all that, God used us to do some amazing things. And some of that stuff we're still just hearing about now. It's just really humbling. So, if the band ended now, God used us in more ways than we ever probably imagined back then.
What about your personal legacy? What would you want that to be?
For me, my legacy starts with my family, with my kids.
Yeah.
Since they were born, telling them about Jesus, having God be a part of their life, and them understand that He's always there for them, even when they make mistakes. And just encouraging my kids, like my mom encouraged me, to go for the stars, dream big and go after it. Don't be scared and complacent in life, And I think because of the stuff I've done, my kids think big, and I'm excited for them. And then being in health and fitness, they don't have to be like me. They don't have to be bodybuilders. I don't expect that of anybody, because that takes a little bit of craziness, honestly. But I wanted to be healthy minded. I lost my parents. My grandpa, he passed away when I was in high school, so he didn't see Pillar. He didn't see me getting married. He hasn't met my kids, because of a heart attack. So it's one of my whys of why I do the fitness and why I'm into eating healthy and writing articles and trying to help other people. I want to be around for my kids. I want to see all the great things they're going to do, and I want to see their kids. And so it's one of the reasons why I'm consistent. And I know that our children watch what we do, So if I can be a good influence on them now, being healthy, being fit, and making some conscious decisions with how they eat, and it helps them be healthier adults and make a good influence on their own kids, just like it takes work, getting uncomfortable, and consistency to keep developing our faith. To me, the two have a lot of parallels and can go hand in hand.
Let's talk about the Pillar documentary you're working on.
Yeah, absolutely. My oldest son, Caden, he is 20 years old, and he's always been into film. Now, he's the only one of my 4 children that was old enough to remember Pillar. He used to come to shows, and people would see him sitting back there with Lester with these gun earphones on, noise-canceling headphones, and he would play the drum. But sometimes he would come out with a little toy guitar and stand on stage next to me. He remembers some of that. Well, Caden, at a very early age, around 6, got into filmmaking. I mean, he's been filming stuff and editing and making films since he was 6, and he never stopped. He's very gifted. And now he's a award-winning filmmaker. He's made documentaries, he's made narratives that he wrote and filmed and put him in film festivals, and he's won some. He's really, really good at what he does, and he's going to college for filmmaking now. When these reunion shows came together, I just had the idea this would be great to capture all this and make a really in-depth behind-the-scenes documentary. And my son is so good, I don't have to manage it or tell him what to do. He had a vision for it. He knew what he wanted to do. He put together a team, and he has collected so much great footage. Behind stage interviews. He interviewed tons of fans and got those stories that I'm telling you about now. You guys are going to see those stories. And just everything it took for us to come back together and what it was like and what the result and the feedback has been. So he came to Ohio with us and had a team. He's using drones, and I mean, it's crazy the amount of footage he has. So now he's editing it. We don't know exactly when it's going to be done because it's an enormous amount of footage. It is going to be a full-length documentary, and we're not sure how we're going to release it yet. There's possibilities we can get it on streaming services, really get it out there for the world to see. And no matter what, we can always release it on our website and, stream it. But we also filmed the Tulsa show where Noah and JR both played with us in its entirety, multiple camera angles, full audio. So we have the documentary and a full live show that we can release somehow once it's ready. So that stuff's getting worked on right now. I'm really excited about it because I know it's going to be special for our fans, but also for us.
Y'all are just picking up where you left off. What else can we expect?
Yeah, so Pillar is still not full time for us, but we're all at a place now where we are a little more flexible. Back in 2015, we released the album, had time for one show, and that was it. We just didn't really have time to do anything else. We were still on lockdown. Not the case anymore. So we would like to keep building and doing things, having fun with it. It's not a job anymore. Back in the day, even though we had a lot of fun, it was our job. It's what paid our bills and supported our family. So we had to tour 200 days a year. We had to push, and it was hard. We're not in that place anymore. Now we can just do stuff that we want to do for fun, and stuff that's going to impact people. So we do want to release some new music. We haven't started on it yet. We don't have dates booked, but our intentions are to release some new music in some form. The talks are happening now, and that will happen. We are in talks with a handful of events and promoters right now for shows for next year, for next summer and fall. We haven't officially signed any contracts yet, but we're all in the works on that. We have intentions of playing a handful of shows here in the U.S. and maybe overseas next year. Our website, pillarmusic.com, is already up, but it's very basic. We released a vinyl version of One Love Revolution this last winter. So we had to get the website back up, but we're actually in the middle of relaunching it now with a new photograph, a new band photo for this year, and just a little bit more information and make it easier for people to get in contact with us. So I actually saw the first draft of that this morning. My friend's making it for us, and we hope to launch that up in the next week or so. Get our brand new merchandise from these last shows, get that up in the web store, the new shirts and hoodies and vinyls and all that, and just keep it going. Keeping our social media active. Our Instagram and Facebook are both Pillar Music. We're not cool enough to be on TikTok, but just keep connecting with people, keep building and seeing where it goes.
Well, this is all exciting news. Those who missed the 3 shows this year, stay tuned. No big tour, but it looks like there'll be some more opportunities coming up. Be sure to watch their social media so you can keep up with everything Pillar. I really appreciate you taking time out for this interview.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I'm glad we were able to connect. You have a wonderful day.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening. Stay tuned for more great music and check out my blog page on the Solid Rock Radio website for my guests' social media links. If you've missed any of my past interviews, you can find them uploaded to podcast.solidrockradio.org. Have a wonderful week and let's be kind to one another.